Hello, my name is Darryl Robert Schoon, and I'm here with Ralph Terry Foster, author of this extraordinary book, Fiat Paper Money, The History and Evolution of Our Currency, which is money. Now, people have told me to read a lot of things, and I do read a lot of things, but this is one of the books that has just altered my consciousness about money itself. And so here I am with the author again. We're really good friends, and I always check in with Ralph every once in a while to find out what is going on in his mind about what's going on today, gold, silver, and money itself.
I'm not a PhD or a formal scholar. I have a coin and stamp store. I deal with people coming in, buying, selling. I understand their perceptions of value, what they think, how that plays out is very important to me. Money and gold, silver, and the fiat monetary systems are important. They play a role in the development of, I think, of our civilization. And the history is so important. So important that I needed a lot of help with this book. And UC Berkeley being right next door to me, for $15 an hour, I had about 25 kids working on their PhD. I want research. I want this book. I want that book. The bibliography is strong. The bibliography makes the book. The research, the footnotes. I want this class. I want this like your doctoral presentation. And this is the brain power that brought forward sort of my street sense into this book. It's important because things continue to change. And if we don't understand history, we will not have a reference point to that change. That change is so important. It's changing since I last met you. The little things are happening all over, and they're important. And the book is continually being revised. As a matter of fact, a person who bought a tremendous amount of gold from me, an attorney back east, says, I have a lot of contacts with publishers, and I love your book, and I read it. And he says, well, can't we just cut a lot of it and just make it more fast, streamlined, and we don't need all these footnotes, and maybe we can do like other writers are doing. They make New York Times bestsellers with just saying the world's going to collapse tomorrow, and it never does, but then they say it 3 months later, the world's going to collapse tomorrow, but it sells books. I still sell a lot of my books, and I sell them at an expensive price, but I make them myself. I bind them myself. I put a spine. This spine has not been with real authentic worthless notes on the spine. So it's sort of like, as Ben Franklin said, I'm busily working, binding and making my own books in 1750. I'm not a Ben Franklin, my lord, but this is a handmade product in many ways. So I do runs of about 100 books, and I sell them on Amazon at $39.99. They sell well. Matter of fact, I quit selling them for a while. We went to Cuba, my wife and I. We took a trip, and with a cultural exchange group. I wanted to see what was happening in their economy and how they're so peaceful down there, but yet their money is bad, and what's kind of going on. It gave me insight. Nothing particular in the book about it yet, but people couldn't buy the book, so they were buying them in the secondary market. The gentleman in the East Coast was saying, well, I saw one of your books go on Amazon for $120. Well, that's because I wasn't printing them at the time, and they had to buy them. And some guy put the book that he bought, and he put it out for auction, got $120 for it. Well, that's neither here nor there.
What do you mean? I should watch Amazon more carefully because I got a stack of them. We're going to make rent.
The word on this from many people, these are new editions of change that they're important to be added, and I just include them with a current book. The End of Future Exchange, that's basically when Johnson took us off the gold standard. And I just basically give you a speech verbatim. To read it, you'll make sense of it. I don't really give too much of my own opinions, but the End of Future Exchange was on July 23rd, 65, when the last of our silver coins were mandated away from us.
I want to make a note of that when he said Johnson took us off the gold, the silver. What it was that Nixon stopped the convertibility of the U.S. dollar to gold, but Lyndon Baines Johnson was the one who recalled all the Kennedy silver-backed $20 notes that were issued, $20 million, was the first time the U.S. Treasury had issued notes since the beginning of the Federal Reserve Act. All right, and he sold out all the silver to make sure we could never issue silver-backed money, real money again in the United States.
They estimate half of those coins are still in investors and people's hands. They're worth about 10 times the face value. In his speech, he said the silver coins will never be worth more than the copper nickel coins. But that's
from the government.
That's okay.
That's from the fiat boys.
I can't. I don't criticize the government. I just look at what's happening now and what's coming. Another one is the literary approach to currency collapse. It's citations from Remarque in his experiences during the German hyperinflation. It's basically from the Black Obelisk. He wrote All Quiet on the Western Front. That's an addition. That gives you some insight as to what you might be facing.
Remarque he went through the hyperinflation of the 1920s in Germany. Now
I'm looking at a section now. I'm doing a lot of extensive research on the culture of fiat. Where are we going? How have we got to where we are now? I'm going to have to, this is an excellent book, The Power of Gold, Bernstein. It's academic. I like this book. He talks about the power of gold. Power. So to relate ourselves to this new culture of fiat that you and I are living in right now, I'm probably going to look at Ricardo. And he mentions Ricardo. I like this because it gives me the chance to find out primary research material. I'll go to Ricardo, his 1911 edition of The High Price of Bullion and the Depreciation of Banknotes. So this will give me some insight. We're getting this. I might get the original edition from the UC libraries. As a matter of fact, once in a while my research assistants come in, hey, I got the original edition. And oh, that's nice. And so I look at that, I live with it, I get a feel for it. And then how it relates to where we are today, you have to add the computer, the phones, the digital money, what's happened in Sweden, what Modi's done in India.
So Ralph, that was 1911.
1811.
He wrote about the high price of gold bullion and the depreciation of banknotes.
Yeah.
All right. 1811, which means it's focused on the Bank of England.
Napoleonic Wars.
Okay,
the Napoleonic Wars.
Okay.
They didn't have enough gold.
100 years later, in 102 years later, exactly,
the Federal
Reserve is created in the United States and begins to issue banknotes.
Mm-hmm.
And what has happened in the last 100 years, those banknotes have depreciated 99% of their purchasing value, and it's just accelerating.
Yet they've given us probably the highest standard of living civilization has seen.
Of course it is.
We are living better than we, well, I would say 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, we were living better than we are now. Now I'm seeing cracks everywhere. Those cracks are important to me. Those cracks can indicate when it might just go. I don't know. I enjoyed Sinclair's article, says be prepared for $25,000 gold overnight. That's fine. I want to give you more research. So I want you to say what you think. I want to at least make you aware of the problems you may be facing. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not going to say it's going to collapse tomorrow or the next week, but I am very anxious about the future. And so I will not give up making this a better resource material. I want this like a razor's edge.
Sure, it is.
Yeah, and I want it to be criticized by intelligent people. Matter of fact, I have one of Kessler's proteges, the law professor at Boalt Hall, trained under Kessler. He's actually giving me some translations on the German banknote because he knows High German, which is very hard to understand. But is a brilliant man. There's so much brilliance at the UC Berkeley campus. And they're not all communist either. As a matter of fact, in some of the legal offices, they have to take an anti-communist oath.
One of the things I want to point out here about the future is that, and when it could happen, in 2009, 1 year after, it was 6 months after the financial crisis of 2008, I was in London with Sandeep Jaitley, all right? The Wall Street was already cratering, and we had a discussion when it might collapse. And what Sandeep said was this: at that time, it was impossible to tell when the grain of sand would bring it all down.
Yes.
He said, it is so high, it is so huge, when it does fall, all it will take is a grain of sand. And we both agreed in 2009, in April in London, that in our discussion, we could not tell. And I've talked to Sandeep a lot because we're putting together, we're working together now. And we have concluded that in 2018, in the summer, it's starting to give way. That dissolution.
Something's happening.
Yeah.
I sense it. I feel it. I've got a street sense.
Yes.
I feel something happening.
Yes. That the dissolution of that huge edifice of sand that has been built up over 300 years in England and now global reach is now starting to give way. So, to our viewers, what I can only tell you is what I said since after I met and read this man's book, is that fiat money, the history of our currency, is probably one of the most seminal works I've ever read. And you could do no better than to order it and read it yourself. Ralph Terry Foster.